So suddenly there was a project for me to research further. So with that and the fact that I did well, I got a distinction for my degree. So I matriculated, thank you, to be able to do a PhD. I thought, oh, well, why not? Hello, and my name's Sara Cole. I'm British. I live in the north of England, northwest of England. I'm 63 years old now. And when I retired from my job, and I used to work for a charity, I decided that I wanted to go back to university and do some more studying. And I chose to go to Lancaster University and study for a master's in English literature. So I did that. I graduated in December 2019, and now I'm 1 year into a PhD at Lancaster. Well, I worked, I think my whole working life was in management. I worked for a company, a manufacturing company for many years. And then latterly, the last sort of 15 years or so of my working life, I was a service manager for a charity, an advice-giving charity. And all my working life I was involved in motivating and managing people, and I used to enjoy recruiting and training people to do the job, so I was always interested in education and learning.
What makes you decide to study literature after retirement? Was it because like it's a dream that you kind of wanted to pursue when you were younger?
I think so. I always enjoyed being a student. I did my first degree more than 40 years ago, and it was a time of my life that I really enjoyed. And when I went to work, I always enjoyed learning. So there was usually something going on in the background of my life. I was learning French, or I was doing English literature classes informally with organisations. And I used to take the opportunities my job gave me to do courses and learning and so on. So when I retired, it was a very busy job, and I didn't have much time to think about what I was going to do afterwards. But I sat down one day and I thought, well, what do I really enjoy? What do I really want to spend some years focusing on? And the first thing that came into my head, really the best thing, was to go back to university and study for another degree. My first degree was in history. And which I enjoyed. It was very lovely. I enjoyed it very much. But I always felt there was a little hole in my sort of life that English literature was filling, and I wanted to look at it in a deeper way. So I decided to study English literature at university.
That's awesome. What's like the reaction you get from your friends or your families? Were they surprised or?
Well, my family and my closest friends weren't surprised at all. I think they know me as somebody who likes to read and study and write. So they weren't at all surprised. Friends who aren't so close, they think I'm crazy. So I don't mind that at all. They don't know why I would put myself through all the difficulties of it. But of course I love it. I don't find it hard at all. Well, it's difficult, but it's not,
Well, if my parents tell me that they are going to do a degree after their retirement, or say my grandparents now they're telling me that they're going to do this, I'll feel like super proud of them, because at that time, honestly, like I am kind of like the first generation to go to universities in my family. I think it's a lot of case for many Chinese families as well, like because of the economic growth, that it really allows us to be able to go to university, that we don't have to be in a hurry to start to work. Like my mom, she starts to work at the age of 17. So it was really like they didn't have that opportunity to go to universities at that time. So I really, inspired by your story, I start to tell them that, now we're all right. So maybe after retirement, you can do another degree, like just major in the subject you would like to study. So I think that's really cool. So I'll be very proud of them. And
thank you. Yes, well, my family are proud of me. But my mother, you see, I was the first in my family to go to university 40 years ago. And my mother, she left school at 13 and she had to go to work. And when my father died, she was only 55 years of age and she had no qualifications, nothing. And she went to university in Preston and she got a degree,
Wow.
from a start of, no formal qualifications at all. So we were so proud of her and what she achieved. And I'm following in her footsteps now, going back to university. But yeah, my family are proud, and my daughter came to my graduation just over a year ago, and all her work colleagues were very impressed that her mother had got a degree, another one.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine that. Yeah. Yeah, that's really great. After you graduate from the master's degree, you decide to continue to do a PhD. Why is that?
Well, it took me a while to get used to being a student again. And then when I did, I enjoyed it very much and I found it difficult. But I did well at my master's degree.
Yeah.
And one or two people in the department said, "Oh, would you think about doing a PhD?" And I didn't know what research area to go into. Within my interest of the English literature of the Romantic period, which is the late 18th and early 19th century, it's a very well researched field. But I did for my master's dissertation a study on satire and science in the Romantic period, and I discovered actually it's a very under researched area. So suddenly there was a project for me to research further. So with that and the fact that I did well, I got a distinction for my degree. So I matriculated. Thank you. To be able to do a PhD, I thought, oh, well, why not? So I registered apply to do a PhD and was accepted.
That's
Yeah.
that, I'm just so proud of you. Like, I mean, going back to university, like you said, it's not easy. I imagine you will need to get used to new kind of daily routine. Like you mentioned, you like being back to the campus again, and also you face some challenges. Can you
Yeah.
describe more about that?
Yes, well, the campus is a beautiful campus, as you know. I was always lost. I could never find the lecture theatre or the room, the office, or the seminar room. I had a little map, and I used to ask people. So I felt very. I didn't fit in. I didn't feel as though I fitted in at first. I was always lost. I didn't know where I could have a cup of tea or where was the best place to sit in the library. And I was also lost online as well with all the websites, the library website and the department website and the learning spaces. It took me a long time to find my way around all of those spaces actually on the campus and in the electronic world. So that was kind of quite a surprise. And also going back from being in a fairly senior position in a company to going back to a place where I knew nothing. I was a beginner again. I was starting out afresh. And although it's a great challenge, that, and you have to, I think, accept that it's going to be difficult at first. I felt quite shy, didn't know where to park my car, all those things. And gradually over the first year of my MA, I began to feel more at home. And now when I go onto the campus, I feel as though I'm coming to a second home, which is nice. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Like hearing you describing this kind of experience, I relate a lot as an international student. I'm really happy that you finally like get used to this life path. And indeed, Lancaster is a very beautiful city, and the campus is really great. Actually, I think the people in our department they're also very great. Would you like to describe like your relation with them?
Well, the staff, well, the teaching staff and the students I met in the department were all very friendly and welcoming. They were interested in what I was doing. They were interested in why I was there. But on the other hand, they just treated me as if I was any other student. There was no indication that I was any different from anybody else, which was very encouraging. And so I used to pop into other people's seminars or sort of an English department lectures, which we can just go to, and just really enjoyed it. And I find I got to know the staff, some of the teaching staff, the professors and the lecturers quite well. I think one or two of the younger ones might have found it a bit difficult having a much older student, but most of them, the vast majority, are absolutely fine about it. And there were a few other people in my sort of age group when I was there doing the MA and also the PhD. So I made some friends of my own age, but all the students are very welcoming and friendly. It's
Yeah.
good, and they help me as well. They're very helpful. I don't mind asking for help if I need it, and people are very happy to help with anything really. So it's no
Yeah.
problem. Yeah.
Do you feel like they bring you something that you didn't expect you would learn, or do you also feel like you also bring something to the class?
Yeah, I think one of the things about being an older student is that we're less shy in a group situation. So I was always happy to make a comment, or even if I didn't understand what was happening, I would tell them. So I think some students were a bit shy about that,
Yeah,
but I never was. So I think that was quite helpful for some of them, and certainly if I think for some of the lecturing staff who sometimes if you ask a question in a group and nobody answers it, you can feel it feels a bit awkward. But I learned a huge amount. I mean, obviously the students who've done 3 years of an English undergraduate degree, they know far more about the subject than I do. And so when they speak, I listen because they're very interesting and very knowledgeable. I like mixing with young people. It's very interesting ideas, and they're
yeah,
fun, very welcoming and open. Yeah, it's good. So I think we all learn from each other, which is nice.
yeah. I wish I had you in my class because I
Oh,
was like the type of person that you're describing, like very shy to speak up in the class, in the seminar.
well, yes, I think, and it's also something very valuable to learn, isn't it? It's a life skill to learn that when you're in a situation, a professional situation, that your voice is as valuable as anybody else's, and that you have as much of a right to get something interesting out of the session as anybody else does. And
Yeah,
that's part of learning. But yeah, hard for you as an international student. And as it's hard for me as somebody else who's not in the kind of doesn't fit right into the normal sort of idea of what a student is.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We do have this kind of stereotype of what
Mm.
students look like. That like one of it is like to be unprofessional, to be young, sort of. But it's really good to see that there are more diversity in our universities right now, right? So,
I think that's good.
yes, yes. So, you say like you did the program, you chose to take the part-time program instead of like the full-time. How did you manage time during the program?
Well, I didn't want to do. I just come out of many years of full-time employment, so I didn't want to do a full-time degree. That's like 40 hours a week. So I thought to do it part-time and spread it over a longer period was helpful for me, to get to be able to do other things as well, have other things obviously going on in life. And also to be able to pick up background in English literature that I might not have time to do if I did the degree full time. So I set myself really two challenges. My supervisors think this is, I don't know what they think. I say to them, well, okay, my challenge to myself is I spend 20 hours a week on my PhD now. So between reading and writing, or doing emails, or whatever I'm thinking, I'm 20 hours a week, and I try to write 2,000 words a month, to submit to my supervisors so that we can have something to talk about when we meet up every month. And that's my rule of thumb. So some weeks, for example, last week it was a reading and thinking week, so I didn't write much. But I think next week I'm going to write 1,000 words on a specific topic, so I'll be working quite hard at my desk. And maybe the week after not so much. So I try and be disciplined about it, but also have a time for other things. I see my supervisors once a month, for an hour, which is quite an intense hour. and I prepare for it. So that's the focus for the month, really. And then, yeah, we just carry on like that. And surprisingly, a year has gone by and I've written a chapter of my thesis already. So it's working.
Wow. I assume you are going to do it 6 years, right?
I don't know. The minimum I can do it as a part-time PhD is 4 years, and the
Right.
maximum is 7 years. And I'm thinking maybe 5 years would be a good time frame.
I think that's you can make it, like, since you have already written a chapter about it. That's really impressive. Yeah.
Yeah.
But currently living during the pandemic, does that impact your study in some
Yeah.
ways?
Yes, the all my work at the university has been online since March of last year. I think I had my last face-to-face supervision meeting last March, and ever
Right.
since then been online. It's okay, it's not the same, but it's as good as we can do. So yeah, I submit my work to them electronically. Obviously, I email it or share it with them, and then we speak from our homes and discuss the work and what I'm going to do next. The pandemic has made a big difference
Yeah.
to all students in this country. Teaching has been, well, I think last term there was, particularly in the English department, blended learning. So some things were face to face and some things were online. But this term, the government said the universities must close to
Oh.
students. So, well, the university isn't closed, but we're all working from home, or most of us. So
Yeah.
everything has been online this term. Um, I go to the library. I went to the library yesterday, but
The library is
it's very,
open.
the library's open. Yeah,
Right.
you'd be very sad if you saw it, Jufei. It's very quiet. You have to, if you want to work in the library, you have to book a desk. You can't just wander in.
Oh.
We can only go in really for short periods of time to collect books and take them back. Have to wear a mask. There's hardly anybody there. There's obviously a huge amount of work has gone online. The library has done really well to put more and more books and resources online, and the departments as well. You know, all the teaching now is online for this term. I did a lecture. I was asked to deliver a lecture last term for the English students, and I did it. I wrote the lecture and I recorded it like I'm sitting here talking to you.
Yeah.
With a PowerPoint presentation, and that was delivered online.
That's
Um,
great.
yeah, and we do the PhD students, although the kind of notion, the stereotype is that PhD student is a very lonely person. They are in a way, because you know I'm the only person doing my subject, but I'm in touch with all the other PhDs in the department. We have work in progress sessions. I do training with the faculty regularly. So there's lots and lots of opportunity. There are lectures, public lectures, there are talks and seminars, all online. So the staff are putting in a huge amount of work to deliver an experience, not just for us postgraduates, but also for
Yeah.
the undergraduates. Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
quite different.
Yeah. They're really
Yeah,
amazing to make this happen.
yeah,
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned doing the PhD is kind of lonely in the sense that you are the one doing this field. Like you don't have other people to, I guess, like the supervisor can only guide you at some point, but can't really do all the research that you do. Like one question I always ask about like doing my field is like, am I doing this right? Like I'm doubting myself, but no one can tell you if you're doing this correctly or not.
it is hard. It is. And Simon, my supervisors, you know, two professors, very well known international academics, but they're already saying to me, well, you know more about this than we do now, and that's only like 1 year in. But they are, I mean, obviously they guide the process and the standard and the quality, and they've got loads of ideas. I mean, they do know more than they know a lot more than I do. So they're always suggesting different writers or texts or conferences to go to. Yeah, so they're very helpful. But yes, I think all PhD students get to a stage where they know more than their supervisors about what they're doing.
Yes,
Yeah.
true. how would you say, like, what's your decision of doing a MA or afterward a PhD bring to your life? Like, what kind of changes does it bring to your life currently?
Well, yes, quite a lot of changes because it's a big commitment of work. So my family are very supportive, but they know that I'm not always available to go
Yeah,
out or to go, well, the holidays are obviously not an
yeah,
issue at the moment. We're always here. But I've just found it so mind broadening, so interesting to have something fascinating and new to think about. And I don't find it stressful. So, I'm not worrying about the work. I'm just very interested in getting to the next stage of it. It's brought me into contact with some fascinating and lovely people, and like you, I would never have met you otherwise,
I
and
know. Yeah.
yeah, and it's just brought me into contact with so many interesting people from other countries, different age groups, different backgrounds, that yeah, I'm really enjoying it. It's really brought a big change to my life, and it's very welcome.
Well, I was thinking maybe, inspired by you, maybe I should, do another subject. And then after I um, accumulate my own wealth and I can go back to university to do literature again. Actually, my question is, do you feel like doing a degree at that time, like you say 40 years ago, helps you better finding a job compared to now? Because I feel like doing a degree now does not secure you a job for our
Mm.
generation. I don't know if it's a case like for you at that time.
Well, I graduated in 1980 into a world recession that was going on at the time. And I think when I was a student, we were all
Yeah.
worried about whether we'd get jobs or not. So, in that respect, things have changed. But far fewer people, when I was studying, far fewer people had a degree and went to university. It's difficult, isn't it? I mean, a degree is a transferable skill. Um, we learn things at university, whatever we study, that
Yes.
we can use in our future lives and in our future careers. So I would never say to someone, oh, do a business degree, don't do an English degree, if English is what you're really interested in. And then work in an environment which helps you to use the skills of writing and research and focusing and discipline, and all the things that you bring to your degree you can bring to your work life as well. Of course, I've done it the other way around as well. I've brought my work skills, all the skills I've learned in my working life about applying myself and focusing, concentrating, researching and thinking. And I've brought all those back into my academic work. So it kind of works both ways. But it's difficult to look back at the end of something and say, oh, well, what if I'd done it differently? I don't know. I think we all just do what we can at the time, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is true that I feel like more and more people are holding the degree right now, and it feels like it is what the society or your family expects you to do.
Yeah, or I think some of the students, I got the feeling some of the master's students, the younger ones, stayed on to do a master's degree because they didn't know what else to do, and they didn't have an idea about a career. So
Yeah.
most people who do higher degrees, I think, finish up, working in an unrelated area because that's where the jobs are.
Yeah.
The problem, I think, for in Britain for older people going to university now is it's so expensive, and I think there is some funding available, particularly for people who haven't been to university before, but it's not something that's cheap to do, so we have to make a financial commitment to doing it, and obviously that's not possible for everybody. So I think that's probably the biggest barrier.
Really, thank you for your time. Just by the way, to ask if you
Okay.
don't mind, I know it's too early to ask, but do you have anything in mind after you uh, graduate from your PhD degree?
I don't know. I think to stay as part of the university for as long as possible. Maybe there'll be an opportunity to write a book about my research. That's usually the thing. I'm
Yes.
starting to think about delivering papers at conferences, so start to make my research more widely known and it's a fairly important area, I think. So I think as I get more proficient and more experience, and I'll begin to be known outside of the university, and maybe opportunities will come. But I would love
Yes.
to be able to continue researching and writing.
It's really amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, because I think people used to ask me what would I like to do after graduate, but at that time, like a professor, like I really like her, and she told me that you don't have to be in a hurry to decide what you're going to do after graduate, because you might get to know more information, like your vision are going to be widened. So you never know what will happen, and
That's right.
just
What opportunities appear out of nowhere sometimes, and you
yes.
just have to be in the place and with your eyes open, and then something happens that's really good. So yeah, just keep doing it, and yeah, opportunities will come.
Thank you for your time, really.
That's really good. I've really enjoyed talking about this, and if I've encouraged anybody to think about doing a further degree or higher degree at university, I would say, yeah, do it. It's fantastic. Really enjoy it.